You know, really, you look out on the track, these 16 cars here, this could be a feature event just about anywhere else you race all year. And this is just heat race number 1 of 2 heat races and then a last chance race. That's Mark McFarland. He knows his way around this track. Tommy Levens Jr., he knows his way around this track. Going to be a heck of a race for 25 laps out here. Pace car makes a hard left-hand corner. Mike Hare's got the green flag in his ear, waves it in the air, waves it like he just don't care. We are underway for 25 laps. Tommy Levens Jr. is going to get a quick advantage on the outside. Mark McFarland had a bit of a slow start. The racing side by side on the front, down the backstretch.
Working back into turn number 3, wheel to wheel for the top spot. Mark McFarland, half a car length behind Tommy Levens Jr. He'll swing back to turns 1 and 2, still wheel to wheel back to the second corner.
McFarland gets a little bit loose coming off of turn 2. He's still able to keep it known right behind Tommy Levens Jr. Levens cannot clear McFarland going into 3. They come off of 4, it's still wheel to wheel.
Transfer position is the 8th spot as of right now. It is being held by Dylan Bassett, the 15-year-old. Cliff Daniels rides 9th. Austin Thaxton is 10th as they're double wide for 3rd.
That is Josh Oakley on the inside of Woody Howard. Woody Howard knows how to work around this track on the outside. He's got good equipment, that Bob Hunter number 10 machine. But Josh Oakley's been strong anywhere he's run all year, and he's going to clear coming off of turn 2.
Field now beginning to fall out single file. They'll click off lap number 4 out of this 25 for this first heat race for the late model stocks. Again, the top 8 will transfer to the main event. Tommy Levens Jr., Mark McFarland, a tight second. Nose to tail up off the corner.
Back in the transfer spot right now. You got a little 3-way battle going on there. John West Townsley got the transfer spot. Cliff Daniels and Austin Thaxton both won it. Thaxton is really all over the back of Daniels, but he keeps getting loose coming off the corner. Can't really do anything with Cliff. However, Cliff Daniels can't really do anything with John West Townley either. Townley, of course, ran the truck race down in Miami, came up to run the late model race at Myrtle Beach a day later. He's a racer. He's here to race.
Challenge for the lead in turn 3. Mark McFarland to the inside of Tommy Levens Jr. They'll go wheel to wheel across the start-finish line. Back to turn 1, still side by side.
Levens Jr. to the outside, McFarland to the inside. McFarland looks like he needs a little more room than Tommy Levens has given him. Levens just about pulls away every time they get down the straightaway. They get to the corner, McFarland about evens it up. This time, McFarland gets loose, Levens gets the spot.
Oakley not happy with the number 3 position, and Josh Oakley feeling a little racy. Took a peek to the inside of McFarland as things at the front of the field begin to settle down. Tommy Levens Jr. continuing to lead the parade back to the stripe. 9 laps complete.
You know, you got to question how hard do you really want to race for 3rd right now in this kind of race. You can do a lot more damage than good right now trying to make a pass for 2nd place. You're way ahead of the transfer guys. You've seen guys before get a little loose here, scuff up the tires a little bit and drop like a rock. 15 laps is a long way to go here still at Southern National Motorsports Park.
Challenge for the number 7 position. Dylan Bassett now going to the inside, trying to make that pass stick. He's got the preferred lane. He continues to work side by side with Brandon Dean.
Brandon Dean loses a spot to Dylan Bassett, tucks right back in behind the Bassett Motorsports 44 machine. They've still got about 5 or 6 lanes back to John West Townsley, who's still sitting in the transfer spot. Cliff Daniels has managed to pull away from Austin Thaxton, who's getting a challenge now from the 8 machine of Blake Jones.
Brandon Dean's car back in the number 7 spot has been bottoming out, going off into the corners, and a trail of sparks coming out from underneath the race cars. And let's face it, nobody wins when something's dragging from the rear end.
No, you don't want anything dragging from your rear end. It's just bad form in general. At halfway right now, Tommy Levens Jr. is the leader. Mark McFarland running 2nd. He's got a challenge now from Josh Oakley back in 3rd, while Woody Howard and Chris Bowen round out the top 5.
Battle for the transfer spot is on again. John West Townley has it. Cliff Daniels wanted a couple of black and white Toyotas, nose to tail. Daniels taking a peek to the inside in turn 1.
Daniels is a patient race car driver. He knows the value of not tearing up your equipment and going out there and racing everybody clean. But in the 25-lap sprint like this, and with guys that usually race 150 laps, it gets to be go time in a hurry right there, and Daniels is starting to look a little racy, get right on the bumper of John West Townley.
10 laps to go, 10 to go in this 25-lap heat race. Daniels still trailing in the tire tracks of John West Townley. Meanwhile, Tommy Levens continues to flex muscle in his pink and black Chevrolet. It's a 6th car length advantage. Mark McFarland, on the other hand, he's got company from 2nd on back.
And you have to wonder, well, you got a battle for 3rd now with Woody Howard getting to the inside of Josh Oakley. Oakley drifts up the track a little bit. Howard gets the nose underneath. Oakley gets a good run off of turn 4, though, and that's going to give him 3rd place right ahead of Woody Howard.
To the backstretch they go again. McFarland leads the group back to turn number 3. That's second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Riding by himself in the 7th spot is Brandon Dean. Running 8th in the final transfer spot, John West Townley. Cliff Daniels continues to stalk his every move. He's in the number 9 position.
Right now, even if Daniels doesn't make it in on this race, he still has the last chance race to get in, and if he finishes 9th here, he'll sit on the pole for that last chance race. You want to make it in the heat race, but not such a bad spot to be in for the last chance race.
So 5 laps to go, 5 to go in this first heat race. It's been Tommy Lemons Jr. working hard at the front of the field. His advantage continues to be a consistent 6 car lengths, as nobody is challenging at the moment from second on back, as that group of 5 continue to run single file. Back at the transfer spot, things are beginning to pick up there.
Cliff Daniels is all over the back of John West Townley. Meanwhile, they're both catching the slightly slower car of Brandon Dean. Brandon Dean's been backsliding to Townley in a hurry. Townley really doesn't want to be racing for 8th place. He'd like to take 7th from Dean if he can.
Here's a challenge for the 4th spot. Bowen gets racy. He'll open up the inside lane, dive down to the bottom of the racetrack, and he'll go wheel to wheel for that position. Woody Howard is stuck on the outside lane. Nothing doing there as we watch the laps click away. 3, now make it 2 to go. All eyes on the transfer position. Do you see Cliff Daniels put a bumper to John West Townley?
Cliff Daniels pushes Townley down the front stretch. They dive into turn 3. Daniels gets a little bit tight. See a little bit of sparks coming out the back of his car. They race down the backstretch and dive into turn 3. Townley's got about a half a length on Cliff Daniels.
White flag in the air. Tommy Lemons Jr. in sole command of this heat race. Eyes on the transfer spot. Here's contact from Cliff Daniels to the back end of John West Townley's car. No harm, no foul. Tommy Lemons Jr. will win the heat race. Here's another bump and run. Cliff Daniels to the bottom of the racetrack, and the final transfer spot will indeed go to John West Townley. John West Townley will get the 8th spot, so Tommy Lemons Jr. wins the heat race. Mark McFarland rides 2nd. Josh Oakley finished 3rd. Woody Howard was 4th, with 5th being Chris Bowen. Dylan Bassett rounded out the top 6. 7th was Brandon Dean, and John West Townley finished in the number 8 position. We are fortunate to be able to go participate in that event with all the NASCAR champions across the country. So looking forward to doing that in Charlotte, North Carolina here in the coming weeks. Nose to tail going into turn number 3. Pace car will scamper away, make the hard left turn behind the pit wall. Fielding control, the flagman Mike Hare on top of the flag stand. Here we go. Green flag in the air to 3rd to 4th gear. And we've got the pole sitter, Tony Grady, not coming up to speed. Crash hard into the outside retaining wall. Williamsburg, Virginia's Terry Carroll got turned in the right rear quarter panel, went skittering up the track and slammed the outside wall, courtesy of Keith Bumgarner. Everybody was trying to dodge inside and outside when the pole sitter Tony Grady did not come up to speed. Everybody moving right and left. Terry Carroll tried to go to his right, and occupying that real estate was Keith Bumgarner. No question about it, but he was one of the faster qualifiers, just missing the top 10 earlier in time trials. Tony Grady's not afraid to lay the bumper to somebody. We'll see if he actually has to do that here. Again, the top 7 advance. There are now 14 cars on the track, minus Terry Carroll. Green flag in the air. Lee Pulliam leads the field to turn 1. Flanked to his outside is Justin Snow.
Austin Wayne Self battling Justin Snow for the spot. Austin Wayne Self will take the spot. Just barely clears Justin Snow. He's going to slam the door on Snow, who's trying to get a spot back. Right behind them, though, side by side, Davin Seitz is going to try to go up and take 3rd from the outside, but he's got Doug Gossi to his inside.
3 wide further back, Nate Monteith, aggressive. 1 car in trouble. Now 4 cars involved in an incident up in turn number 3. Caution flag flies on the speedway. Involved is Doug Gossi. Nate Monteith got a small chunk of that. Also, Sherman Davis Jr. and Matt Waltzkin up in turn number 3. Still 1 car sitting there.
Yeah, that's Davin Seitz over there in turn 3. And what looked like Doug Gossi just overdrove the corner a little bit, locked up the brakes, tapped Seitz just a little bit. Seitz went around, and while this is a self-clearing track and everything, when you stop in the middle of the track anywhere, it's hard to scramble, even with this few cars on the track.
Pulliam goes inside, and Self will go to the outside. Looks like everyone will follow suit, and we'll go double wide as as they originally start. Actually, now we have 3 to 4 cars going to the bottom of the racetrack from 7th on back. Opportunity for Bumgarner, who was involved in that first incident with Terry Carroll.
And you look back in the field there, Tony Grady's been able to pick up a couple spots back there, work his way forward just a bit. Still got a little bit of work to do. Mike Hare's got the green flag in his hand. He waves it, we're back underway. Almost tried to go 3 wide right on the restart. Justin still thought about it and then thought better of it.
Lee Pulliam digging down to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll squeeze out in front of Self. Advantage to Lee Pulliam. He'll lead back to turn 3. Self rallies back on the outside lane. Meanwhile, Justin Snow pedaling as hard as he can at the bottom.
Justin Snow to the inside of Austin Self. Car looks like it's handling really well through the corner. They're side by side down the backstretch. Snow on the inside, Self on the outside. Self's driving it in really deep on the outside. Snow leans on him a little bit coming off of turn 4. Self still has the position coming off of 4.
Waltz running in the number 4 position, had thoughts of going 3 wide. Fortunately, thought better of it. He now looks to his right and sees Nate Monteith beginning to loom large out the passenger window. It's the race for the number 4 position.
Back in the field, Keith Bumgarner's now in the 7th spot, but he's got Gary Causey all over his bumper on the inside. They lose Causey just a little bit, but Bumgarner's hung up on the outside, trying to get around Michael Hardin, doing it the hard way on the outside. Right in front of Hardin, though, they're side by side. Waltz gets loose underneath Monteith. They're going to stack back up there from about 5th place on back.
Trouble in turn 2. One car goes spinning down to the bottom of the racetrack. Tim Allensworth did not make contact with any of the retaining walls. Comes to a halt perpendicular to the 17-degree banking in turn number 2. His car, after releasing the brake, rolls down the hill, refires, grabs a gear.
Cone comes out. Austin Wayne Self again will try to go up to the high side. Monteith is going to follow him. Michael Hardin goes with him, as does Keith Bumgarner. We'll see how that strategy pays out for him. Basically was sitting 7th, decided to give it up and take 8th on the high side. Green flag back in the air from Mike Hare. Again, we're going to go side by side into turn 1. Wayne Self gets a good shove by Nate Monteith going into turn 1. They come off of turn 2. Pulliam clears Self again, and once again, you've got Justin Snow to the inside of Austin Self.
Knotted up from 2nd on back. Lee Pulliam scampers away by a car length. Here's Justin Snow. He'll open up the inside lane. Self muscled to the outside. Wheel to wheel for the number 2 spot. They're double wide from 2nd on through the field. The only one running by himself at the front is Lee Pulliam.
Keith Bumgarner gave up that 7th spot, went up to the high side, fell back to 8th, and now that's where he rides side by side. 6th and 7th right now under being contested. Gary Causey to the inside of Michael Hardin. Hardin's made that car work really well on the outside all season here at Southern National, but right now he's got Bumgarner challenging for the transfer spot in 7th.
It is an absolute hornet's nest from 2nd on back, especially back around 7th for the transfer spot. Cars duking it out wheel to wheel, side by side to the inside will go Keith Bumgarner. He now takes over the 7th spot. Bumgarner up to 7th, but only by a fender on the backstretch.
Michael Hardin hung up on the outside, and he's not might just lose more than that. Tony Grady's now to the inside. Tony Grady's got a fast race car right there. Michael Hardin's going to slam the door on him for now. Hardin, though, doesn't look like he can get his car down on the bottom to where he needs it to be. And now Tony Grady's to his inside, and that battle's for 8th.
Across the stripe this time, lap number 11 of 25 go up on the board. Things beginning to settle down just a bit. Meanwhile, they're side by side for 8th. Tony Grady continuing his rally back towards the top 7 to the inside of Michael Hardin, who has been stuck on the outside lane lap after lap. Tony Grady, the next in line to squeeze down to the inside.
Michael Hardin was really upset with his qualifying effort, and he's going to be a lot more upset about it now if he can't make it into this race through the heat race. Tony Grady's got the inside. Don't know how much of this, what the problem was with his car. Not much he's had to use trying to get forward now. He's on the inside of Hardin. Hardin's not letting him have a whole lot of room off the corner. And if you ask some of these drivers, they really need all the track coming off the corner to keep the speed up that they want to run. And when you've got somebody kind of pinning it down like that, you're going to have to check up a little bit. But Tony Grady, it looks like he's got the spot under control in 8th.
Fans in the stands bundled up as they watch late model stock racing. 15 laps complete, 10 to go. Top 7 go to tomorrow's main event for the Southern National Thanksgiving All-Star Classic. Transfer spot for the moment being held by Keith Bumgarner. He's closing in on the back bumper, however, of the 6th place running car. That's Gary Causey. They do have about 4 car lengths back to Tony Grady, who is hard charging. We know he's got a fast race car, and we'll see if Tony Grady can do anything to try to race his way in this thing with now just 7 laps to go.
Don't want to forget about him out front, riding around all by himself as Lee Pulliam. He's got this race pretty much under wraps. Hasn't had a challenge all night, even at the start. Justin Snow runs 2nd, Austin Self 3rd, Matt Waltz 4th, Nate Monteith 5th. Gary Causey runs 5th, and Keith Bumgarner in 7th. He's trying to make a pass now on Causey. He gets to the inside and makes it look pretty easy coming off the turn 4, moves Bumgarner up to 6th. Gary Causey back to 7th.
Lee Pulliam really having a nice Saturday evening stroll through the Southern National Motorsports rankings. He has a good 2-second advantage, which on the racetrack equates to about half a straightaway. Justin Snow comfortably rides 2nd. Austin Self rides 3rd. The 4th position belongs to Matt Waltz. Nate Monteith is 5th. 6th, Keith Bumgarner. Gary Causey 7th. But Tony Grady is all over the back bumper. This the battle for the transfer spot on the backstretch.
Tony Grady's closing in a hurry on Gary Causey. Causey had a fast car earlier, but he's been backsliding. He looks really loose coming off the corner. And he needs to try to keep that car under him just a few more laps. But Tony Grady's coming in a hurry. Grady's basically riding by himself, but if he looks in his mirror, he'll see Harrison Rhodes and Michael Hardin starting to creep closer. That battle's going to be pretty inconsequential, though, unless Grady can catch Gary Causey in 7th.
Top 7 out of these cars go to tomorrow's main events. There will be promoters provisionals handed out. So we will fill the field tomorrow for the main event. We also have the last chance race tomorrow afternoon. So Tony Grady beginning to fade. He's, a matter of fact, will lose the 8th position in the exchange over in turns 3 and 4. Disappointing night for Tony Grady. He gets turned. Great save as he goes to the apron in turn 1, saves the race car, washes up the banking and tries to snap back in line. Michael Hardin got him as the checkered flag flies, and heat race number 2 is in the books.
Lee Pulliam's going to come across the leader. He's got a over 2.5 second advantage on Justin Snow, who finishes 2nd. Austin Wayne Self comes across 3rd, with Matt Waltz 4th, Nate Monteith 5th. Keith Bumgarner comes across 6th with Gary Causey, the last car to transfer on in. Great late charge by Harrison Rhodes, falls up a little bit short in 8th. Michael Hardin takes 9th with Tony Grady 10th.